Hello, my name is Brandon Huerta, and today I will be presenting my presentation named The Cultural Perspective and Food Traditions of the Philippines. So, cultural perspective of Filipinos. Starting off with their location, they are located in the east near Asia, which results in them being heavily influenced by Eastern and Asian culture, which will also be apparent in their food and cuisine. So starting off with a little bit of history, they were originally claimed by Spain in 1521 and 3 centuries later gained independence in 1898. Of course, this amounts to lots of influence coming from those centuries of Spanish rule, again in some traditions, including cuisine. So, some of the religious statistics: about 92% of all Filipinos are in one way, shape, or form uh, religious, and 80% of Filipinos are Catholic, and about 12% of the 20% that aren't Catholic are another denomination of Christian. So 92% of the population um, is is Christian in one way, shape, or form. So the three major traditional health practices that they practice are flushing, heating, and protection. Um, so those are the key elements to traditional health beliefs in the Philippines. Flushing rids the body of debris, heating regulates the internal temperature, and protection involves safeguarding the body from natural and supernatural forces. And this is also why a large amount of the population will be slightly overweight, at least a little bit overweight, because it is thought as a form of protection, and having a layer of fat on the body denotes resistance. So moving on to the traditional food habits in the Philippines. So some of the influences that they have, of course, are Spanish and American and Asian. And a way that they relate to Asian cuisine would be rice as being the main dish, and it is served at least 3 times a day. So their days consist of 3 meals, 2 snacks, and 2 snacks in between their meals. So they would have a breakfast and then a snack in between breakfast and lunch. Of course, after the snack would be lunch, and then a snack in between lunch and dinner, and finally dinner at the end of the day. Um, and the practice that they do practice would be the eldest male usually eats first, followed by everybody else. So, um, so food is often used to celebrate special occasions, such as birthdays, holidays, or celebration of life, um, such as a celebration of somebody's death, um, like an anniversary of the death of a loved one. And some of the common ingredients would be iodized salt, fish, and rice. And of course, this goes back to to the Eastern and Asian influences that the Filipinos have adopted. Um, Having fish and rice be some of the main dishes or the main ingredients that they use in their food. So some contemporary food habits in the U.S. Um, so American food is enjoyed alongside traditional Filipino food, and this is even true among first-generation Filipino Americans, who usually refer to themselves as being more Filipino than American. They still do enjoy American food alongside traditional Filipino food, so they don't necessarily completely cut out any other type of food other from than their own traditional food. And unfortunately, obesity is on the rise. Of course, this may have something to do with the fact that being a little bit overweight is seen as a good thing. Of course, the protection beliefs could be a cause. And some of the Filipino diet acculturation would be calorie dense meals and fast food. So, this has, of course, um, been on the rise, and it is a way that it is something that Filipino Americans are starting to incorporate in their diet more and more, which would of course be could be another cause for the obesity rate rising. So moving on to the traditional food, I picked lumpia for the Philippines. It is one of the most favored foods in the Philippines. It is a deep fried egg roll with a thin rice or wheat flour wrapper filled with a filling that can consist of a mixture of meats and vegetables such as ground pork, ground meat, sometimes ground chicken, although it's not very common. Um, It can be eaten as a meal, side dish, or a snack, so it's very versatile. Um, all the times that I have had it, it has been more of as a snack rather than a meal or a side dish. But it could be done either way, and it's versatile and delicious. So they're both, it's delicious, but it's also, as you can see from the pictures, they can be big, which would be more of a meal or a side dish. They could also be small, which are my favorite, and they are more snack size. So here are the ingredients for lumpia. Not that many ingredients, and a lot of it is in the mixture. So yeah. So some directions to cooking lumpia. So first, you want to place a wok or a pan with wide sloping sides on high heat while pouring in 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. So then you're gonna want to cook the pork, stirring often until there's no pink in the pork anymore. And then once you're finished, you're gonna want to remove the pork and set that aside. So that was step one. So step two, you're gonna want to remove oil from the wok until there is only a thin coating left, and then you're gonna want to continue to cook. Um, you're gonna want to continue that by cooking the garlic and onions for about 2 minutes, and then after those 2 minutes, you're gonna want to stir in the pork, carrots, green onions, and cabbage. You're then gonna want to season with pepper, salt, garlic powder, and soy sauce, of course, to taste. And once you're finished, remove the wok from the heat and set aside the contents until they are cool enough um, to touch or to handle. So the third step would be placing about 3 tablespoons of the pork filling diagonally near one of the corners of each lumpia wrapper, leaving about an inch of space on both sides. You're then going to want to fold the side along the length of the filling over the filling, and then tuck in both ends, and then proceed to roll neatly. You're going to want to keep the rolls tight, and once finished, lightly wet the other side with water to seal the edge and make it a nice tight egg roll. And then finally, the final step, which is the cooking step, you're going to want to heat a heavy skillet over medium heat for about 5 minutes after adding about half an inch of oil for deep frying. You're then going to want to place 3 to 4 lumpia pieces, depending on how big they are, into the skillet and fry for about 1 to 2 minutes or until all sides are evenly golden brown. Once you're finished, you're going to want to wait for them to cool and then serve. And that is it for my presentation. These are my references, and thank you so much.